Hey y'all, Joe here, and here you are for my first Pokken Tournament video about the actual game itself. Now in this video I'm going to be going over some of the pros and cons of Pokken Tournament, and how fun the game really is for me, and I'm going to be telling you at the end if you should buy this game or not, and also what type of consumer it's for. With all that said though, let's get going. So for the good parts of this game, let's get straight out of the way by saying this game is genuinely fun, and probably one of the funnest games I've played for a long time. This game will keep you engaged for a very long time, and you'll be able to have a lot of fun with it. It's one of the first games in a long time that I've enjoyed playing for an extended period of time, and I'd say that it kind of hit me off for playing a lot of games again. For the last few months I really haven't played that much games, but with Pokken Tournament I've been sinking in hours into this game and I'm really enjoying it. Other than just, the fun I'm having, I also do have to talk about the game in particular. And the first thing to say is that the gameplay is very smooth and very quick and works together really well. Attacks connect flawlessly together and the visuals themselves are some things to wonder at, as far as the Pokemon go. It has a really great pace to play the game at, and it will be enjoyable for almost any type of player if you do decide to pick up this game. As far as a different thing, I want to go over the burst attacks, which you'll probably have seen on the screen by now. So the burst attacks add another really awesome layer of fun into Pokken by changing your Pokemon as far as a few attacks, giving you maybe a buff as far as speed from Sceptile and something like that, or even giving you an incredibly powerful burst attack such as Gengar, which does like half your health. All these effects are really a wonder to look at, and they supply some great spectating for, of course, the spectators, because the moves just look really cool, and of course the burst attacks, the burst attack moves, just look dang awesome, and they give you some nice particle effects to look at. I think this will really make the game quite enjoyable to watch from the spectating point of view, and of course makes it really fun to play. Another thing I'd like to talk about is of course the rock, paper, scissors triangle in place in Pokken Tournament, and this is something a lot of people are talking about, but I gotta give my own opinion here. So essentially what it is that you have grab, counter, and attack, and they all have a time and place to be used in this game, and they make a lot more mind games to be required in order to beat an opponent. Essentially how it works is that if an opponent tries to attack, you can use counter and you'll beat that attack, and then if you use counter, if your opponent grabs you, that grab will beat your counter, and then finally, if you use grab and the opponent uses attack, that attack will beat that grab. So it's kind of that weird triangle, but it's essentially just rock, paper, scissors. But what this really does is it makes a lot of mind games. You kind of have to guess what your opponent's going to do, while at the same time, they have to try to think ahead, trying to think what you're going to do. It really makes for some high level play, and we kind of got to see this in, of course, the Pokken Tournament that, of course, Nintendo put on. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the inputs, and of course how they're actually pretty dang easy to use. Essentially all you have to do is press a direction maybe once, maybe twice, and then press the X button, the A button, or of course the Y button. And you kind of just keep pressing them, and there you go. That's all the attack does. It's not really super complicated like a quarter circle forward in Street Fighter. It's really quite easy. But I'm actually really glad that they did it this way. What this does is it allows the inputs themselves to not really matter quite as much, but more matter the timing of using the inputs. When you're using the inputs, what part of the gameplay you're using the inputs, and how you're using the inputs to beat your opponent. Now this is really nice to see because it gets rid of kind of that entry barrier for a lot of the lower level skill players. A lot of players playing games like Street Fighter V just really don't know how to do all these different combos, they don't know how to press all these different buttons, but this game does of course allow these newer players to get into the game very easily. So if you are a newer player, it can help you get into the game a lot easier, but at the same time, what it allows is it allows a higher skill player to be able to show how they're better still, because it may be easy to put in the commands, but at the same time, you still have all these mind games floating around, you still have all these combos you have to learn, you still have a ton of different stuff that you have to put together, spacing, all this different stuff. But in the end, it really just makes so casuals can play and competitive people can play, and when you even are competitive, you don't really have to worry as much as maybe missing one input that could screw up your whole combo. You're more safe in that, and that's something I really like to do, and it kind of makes me feel like you have to use more skill to beat the opponent than just knowing how to do a input better than them. The next thing to say about this game is that it has a huge variety of different content, such as different maps, ways to dress your trainer, and a ton of different support Pokemon. Now it does lack somewhat in roster size, but I feel like the other content in this game kinda makes up for not having a huge roster. Maybe not fully, but kinda in my opinion. Now speaking of support Pokemon, I feel like they are a great idea for this game. They're similar to the supports in Marvel vs. Capcom, and I'm really glad that they kind of brought this into this game. In general, there are a lot more useful supports than I thought there'd be. I thought there'd maybe be one or two that's useful and the rest are complete garbage, but actually there's quite a bit that are useful, and it adds a whole new layer to the game when you are of course fighting a good player. As well, the support Pokemon made so that more people could have their favorite Pokemon in the game and have the favorite Pokemon with a bit of screen time, so that's also a huge plus. As for the story mode, Farum League, I'd say that it's quite fine enough. Now, if you're a fan of plot-driven stories, then it really won't tickle your fancy, but if you're just looking for some fun matches versus a CPU and a nice tournament bracket, then it's kinda perfect for you. The league itself goes by at the leisure of your own pace, meaning you can go very fast or very slow, which is of course nice. And as well, you can unlock your support Pokemon from here and get some of these unlockable characters, so I'd say all in all, this works out pretty well in the Farum League. For ranked online mode, I like to say that of course it does run actually very smoothly and the netcode's really good. And also that the way that you climb the ranks is pretty fair compared to some other games that Nintendo has made like Splatoon, which could be exploited really dang easily. In Pokken, you get to slowly climb your way up, rank to rank, and eventually try to hit that #1 spot. And I'm sure that for a while, Japanese players will have total territory from all their arcade experience, but over time, the regions will probably even out a little bit more and make some really fun rivalries. So I'm super excited about this ranked mode. It's not the best ranked mode in existence, and I really wish that they had an online tournament mode, but it's fine as it is, and of course gives you a really good mode to practice the game and get better versus other people to practice for your own tournaments. Next one, playing versus friends locally, of course Pokken Tournament, when you're using the gamepad and the Wii U, having your thing projected to the main screen or the television. The game does slow down to 30 FPS, but I wouldn't say that this is really as bad as people say. Now as far as the gamepad screen itself is fine, and the way the gamepad has the D-pad set up, there's really no hurting fingers while playing Pokken like there was when playing Smash Bros. The lower 30 FPS is a bit annoying when trying to get these frame perfect combos, but in general it's really not way too much of a bother. As well, if you and your friend have a different Wii U, you can hook them up via local Wi-Fi or using LAN cables and get a nice 60 FPS without any trouble. I'll try to do a guide on this later today. Hopefully I can show you guys how to do this, or essentially how to set it up, because this is probably one of the things that a lot of you will want to do against your friends in order to get that nice 60 FPS against your buddies. Finally, for the tournament scene of this game, I can see it getting pretty dang big. Now, the Pokemon handheld games really weren't meant that much for tournaments, but with support from Pokemon Company, they did really great. And since this game is getting a lot of support from Pokemon Company as well, I really feel like this game could do great also. Now, of course, it's a really deep game, so it allows a lot of very competitive fights, and the matches are pretty short, which allows a best 2 out of 3 match in quick succession and in a quick amount of time, which is, of course, really nice to watch as well for the spectators. Finally, in general, I'd just say this game is a really fun game to watch, as even the defensive moves are quite a wonder to look at, and of course the offense of this game is really enjoyable, as offense usually is, and offense seems quite a bit better than defense in a lot of situations, so it seems like this game will be at least pretty dang offensive, which a lot of people will like. I don't really know if this will be the biggest game on the market, but it is a really lovely one to see, and I hope it does quite well. As for the bad parts of the game, the voice acting is probably the most awful thing you'll hear in a very long time. It's worse than pretty much any dub that you'll ever hear for an anime. Now, at the same time, you could take this as something that's very hilarious, and it could be a pro if you really like making fun of these voice actors, but if you just want really serious or really nice sounding voice acting, then you're kind of out of luck, and I wouldn't really say that that's a reason to not buy the game. It's just something that's pretty annoying when playing on the Ferrum League. Another thing is that the backgrounds of most of the maps, the people and the Pokemon that is, really don't move that much and don't look that much HD. They're pretty much just cardboard cutouts. But the thing about this is that you will not often be paying attention to them in such a quick-paced game, so I really won't say that that applies way ttoo much, whether you should buy the game or not. They look fine enough, and they do kind of what's similar to what Street Fighter 4 did, but I guess that's the negative. Again, I wouldn't really say that's a reason not to buy the game. Another thing is that a lot of the clothing looks pretty dang similar, and most will make you look like a rad man/woman, and that's not really bad. It's just kind of annoying if you want to look normal. There are definitely enough choices to make your character look great. The problem is it just costs a crap ton of money. Another thing is that the Ferrum League really doesn't make that much sense when you kind of look at it. Why do the later leagues, that being like the top leagues, have more challengers in them than the lower leagues, than like D-League? It doesn't really make any sense. So now, imagine if you're playing like League of Legends or whatever game you're really playing, and the top league, let's say Diamond in this situation, had 90% of the players, while Bronze, the worst league, had 10%. Then all the bad players would just automatically move up to the top league. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't know why they did it this way. I think they just wanted to have more people to fight later on in the game. It doesn't really make sense. I guess that's just how the game works. You know, there's the majority of the players in the top leagues. Doesn't really make sense. That's not how leagues usually work, but, you know, whatever. It's not really the worst thing in the game. It's just, it doesn't make any sense, even though it really doesn't change up the gameplay that much. And the final thing is that the roster is honestly kind of small, but at the same time, of course, I could also change this to Pro, for the fact that it actually helps new players get into a fighting game a lot easier. It makes so they have to learn a lot less matchups, and it lets them get better versus all the foes faster. Sure, I definitely like some more characters in DLC, and I'm kind of convinced that we will get DLC even though there's no confirmation, but even as it is, it's quite fine with the amount of characters we have. It's pretty fun, and it works out decently, and of course it does help these players that don't really know what they're doing. And of course, in most fighting games, only about 10, 15, 20 characters are usable anyway, so, you know, there's that. But in the end, when you put all this stuff together, I'll tell you my conclusion. You should definitely buy this game if you've been having your eye on it, or maybe even if you haven't had your eye on it at all. If you've just been hating on this game, I'd recommend you still buy Pokken Tournament. It's a really great game, it's a ton of fun, and an amazing pickup for anyone. If you're a Pokemon fan that wants to see some of you guys battle as if they were in real life, this game is for you. If you're a gamer that really likes fighting games, and especially Smash Bros, of course this game won't disappoint. Or if you're just a casual fan who likes to, play some different fighting games, this game works pretty well too for that. As far as with those statements, I'd just say that this game works great for casual and works great for competitive players. It's deep enough to be intriguing for better players while being easy enough for people who really aren't great at fighting games to do at least fine enough and have a lot of fun while they're at it. So, in the end, I just say, yes, you should buy this game. It's pretty much great for everyone, and one of the most games I've played in friggin' months. And I'd say it's even about on the same level, as far as me, for fun, as Smash Bros. So you can put it as you want with that. That's just my opinion. If you haven't picked up a copy already, I would fully support you to do so. Maybe you could give yourself a little bit of time, watch the game a little bit more, see all these characters, really decide if you want the game. Of course, that's perfectly fine. I just would, of course, personally recommend it, and I hope you get it too. But there you all go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. Now, I will be doing a lot of Pokken Tournament videos in the next few days, as of course the game just came out. So if you are just here for Smash Bros, then just wait about a week or so. And of course the two games will probably balance out in the amount of videos. But for the next week, maybe week or two, I'll probably upload 2 Pokken Tournament videos a day. So if you're hyped for this game, there's a ton of content. Otherwise, just wait a little bit. I'll be trying to intersperse a little bit of Smash Bros, what your appetite. But there will definitely be Smash Bros on this channel. Don't worry about that at all. With all that said though, I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you liked it, make sure to press the like button. Comment down below if you're getting this game or if you're not getting this game, and tell me why, and I'll try to talk to you about it. Thank you all for watching though. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.